From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Morning Edition.
And good morning. Thank you so much for starting your day with us. It's Sunday, June 15th. I'm Gianna Franco, and here's a look at what's at the top of our rundown this morning. Tens of thousands of people took to the streets in the Bay Area and the nation to oppose the policies of President Trump. No Kings protests played in our region's biggest population centers, including San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose. Organizers say they took steps to make sure the demonstrations remained peaceful. But there were some disturbances in other cities in Los Angeles. A demonstration that was initially calm became confrontational in front of a federal detention center. Police on horseback struck some people with batons in an effort to disperse the crowd. And in Salt Lake City, gunfire during a march downtown left one person critically injured. It's not clear yet if the shooting was politically motivated. Well, a search is on for the man suspected of shooting two state lawmakers in Minnesota. A former House Speaker and her husband were killed on Saturday morning inside their home in suburban Minneapolis. A second attack about 9 miles away wounded a state senator and his wife. Authorities have identified a 57-year-old suspect and are now trying to track him down. All right. Well, as you wake up on this Sunday morning, hopefully it'll be a beautiful day. And it is also Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Hi, Zoe.
Yeah, happy Father's Day to my dad especially, to your dad, to your husband, to all of the dads out there that definitely deserve to be celebrated today.
Yes.
And Mother Nature, I think, is celebrating them with some lovely weather.
Good.
Typical June conditions. It's what we expect for this time of year. And they're going to stick around through the rest of the weekend and into early next week before a little bit of a heat up heads our way. This is our view from on top of Black Mountain, where similar to yesterday, just a little bit of haze, not nearly as much of that thick fog and cloud coverage. But there's not nearly as much upper level cloud coverage, so the sky is not putting on nearly as much of a show today as what it did yesterday. It's still beautiful out there, but not nearly as many of those golden, vibrant hues. But just in general, I want to give you all a fun fact. We have seen one of the chilliest starts to June since at least 1999. Our average high temperature in June here in San Francisco is 61.6 degrees. We have not seen a single day above average this month. We have only seen one day at or above 65 degrees. So again, it's been a chilly start to this month of June, and we are still feeling chilly temperatures early this morning. But by this afternoon, we are going to be maybe a degree or two warmer than tomorrow, or warmer than yesterday. And these temperatures may be going to be sticking around into tomorrow as well. Upper 80s across our inland communities compared to mid to lower 80s. I'll let you know how long these warmer conditions will continue and maybe when it will get a bit warmer coming up in my full forecast. Back to you.
All right, Zoe, thank you. Well, huge crowds turned out in the Bay Area in a show of opposition to President Trump. The movement was sparked after Trump announced a military parade celebrating both his birthday and the Army's 250th anniversary. Now, it follows a week of unrest in Los Angeles, challenging the administration's ongoing immigration enforcement. And the largest crowds we saw on Saturday were in the South Bay. In San Jose, for example, organizers estimate that more than 12,000 people came out to support the cause. And you can see all those crowds there. Crowds also showed up in Palo Alto as well. Speakers and performers appeared on stage, including folk music legend Joan Baez. Now, she told our Veronica Macias what compelled her to take part in the demonstrations.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around.
Her songs were anthems of protests during the civil rights era. Joan Baez now believes she's witnessing a resurgence in the crowd before her. She encouraged the thousands of people at this No Kings rally in Palo Alto's Rinconada Park to continue resistance of this administration with nonviolence.
What's your opinion about the week of Stop the Draft?
The iconic folk singer is a longtime civil rights activist. In the 60s, a voice for migrant farm workers and the anti-war movement, frequently performing with Bob Dylan and Changing the World. She also once marched with the real king, Martin Luther King Jr.
We shall overcome meant we overcome one lunch counter at a time. And I think that's important for us now to, whatever the little victory is, claim it because it's yours.
As turbulent as the 60s and 70s were, Baez says today's political climate makes those years look like a garden party. Seeing the crowds here and across the country gives her an overwhelming feeling of hope.
It's almost as though nonviolence is the way of thought and action is having a resurgence. Now I hear so much people relating to it that we don't have to reintroduce it. It seems as though it's already been reintroduced because, as anybody sane person knows, that's the only possible way to confront the kind of violence that's aimed our way.
Baez cautions in this current climate, there's a lot to lose.
We couldn't imagine that it could be this destruction of civil rights, so terrible, especially after we'd worked so hard, and it's all going so backwards in every area. So I have to be optimistic, which is why I'm here.
If not now, when? If not you, then who?
Many families were also here. Parents brought their children in support of the families who were being separated from their undocumented parents.
And I'm a child of immigrants, and so I identify with, it's very moving.
Congressman Sam Liccardo says the ICE raids are destroying California communities. He's aware parents in his district stop taking their children to school and avoid living their daily lives.
I'm hearing a lot of fear everywhere I go, but here, this is an incredible community coming together to be a beacon of strength.
Speakers of today's Palo Alto rally want people to continue channeling this energy.
No small, but I'm just like a tree that's standing by the river. No.
Well, protesters gathered in Contra Costa County as well. This was the scene here at Broadway Plaza in Walnut Creek. Organizers say 6,800 demonstrators lined either side of Main Street there, chanting and holding signs. Well, over in Oakland, dissidents told our Amanda Hari that Saturday's demonstrations were about more than just going up against the Trump administration.
James Owie spent the day outside of his business, Sacred Tattoo on Broadway, doing what he could to support the protesters marching by.
We were just giving out free water, just a way to help the protesters just feel loved from here and get some water and candy for the kids.
He was on the sidewalk for hours, going from a full table of sustenance to just a few cups of water. He says he was impressed by the No Kings demonstration in Oakland, which is part of a larger series of nationwide demonstrations against President Donald Trump's policies and actions.
It was awesome. It was amazing. Everyone was peaceful.
Owie feels strongly about the aggressive immigration enforcement.
Pissed off, let's just say that.
He considered marching himself, but because of the location of his business, thought he could better help the community by offering support. He also took time to talk with the youngest protesters. Justice and Juana Taylor Lagunas came out with their mom and aunt. The 12-year-old twins already have a strong desire to be a part of these protests.
It states your opinion on what's happening, and it also shows support for others that are doing the same.
I liked hearing people speak, and I like seeing other people's signs and artwork.
He will win! Justice says he feels a personal responsibility to be out here fighting for those who can't.
Some of my family members were immigrants, and to remind everybody that this country wouldn't be here without immigrants.
Some Trump supporters also stopped by to see the demonstration. One man who didn't give his name says he thinks it's ridiculous.
They're saying that they don't want no king, right? But if Donald Trump was really a king, he would have all the judges that are going to get him executed, beheaded. You know, he's not really for any violence. He's for people like me, people like you, hardworking taxpayers.
As the sun sets, Owie was feeling grateful to witness the community come together, and he says he's not concerned about things escalating overnight.
I've been around for the Oscar Grant riots, and that was hectic, but no, we're good. We are totally good. We believe in Oakland, so we're not scared at all.
Well, protesters also turned out in San Rafael for another No Kings rally. They held signs calling for a stop to mass deportations and demanding democracy. People we spoke to say they showed up because they want to live in a country that accepts all kinds of people. And thousands more demonstrators gathered in San Francisco's Dolores Park before marching to the Civic Center. They tell our Kenny Choi they want to speak out for those who can't.
Her sign written in Spanish saying, "Here we breathe in resistance." Mariana Flores marched with friends to represent many in her family who are living in the shadows.
And that's why I'm here. They're too scared to come here, so I'm representing my whole family, my parents, everyone who can't, because they're undocumented, don't have papers, came on visa.
Massive crowds gathered at Dolores Park, eventually making their way to Civic Center. Flores says the show of support in San Francisco and across the country made this a day of defiance against the Trump administration, and at the same time, a message of unity for those living in fear of being deported.
It means we're here, we're strong, we're not going anywhere.
As you can see, most of the crowd has dispersed. Organizers are cleaning up. They put several measures in place to make sure that today's event stayed peaceful.
We know that there's a lot of people out there that are looking for that excuse to say, look, these the protesters out here are not being peaceful. They're looting and they're doing different things.
Adam Sheehan, a volunteer organizer for Indivisible SF, says early afternoon protests and peacekeepers looking for any signs of trouble helped make the turnout a peaceful one.
For this is their first time, they're bringing out their kids to show them what democracy is and show them that people can really matter. So keeping them safe so they want to come back to the next one is very important to us.
Everyone here is united. It's beautiful. We're all fighting the same struggle. We all come from different stories, but at the end of the day, we're all here.
For Flores, this was a day of protest without violent confrontations to show how a democracy can work with the freedom to express opposition.
Well, in Southern California, a peaceful protest in downtown Los Angeles turned tense on Saturday afternoon. Police stepped in when things escalated outside a federal building. Crowds marched through downtown, starting at City Hall with music, signs, and even fist bumps with troops. But near a federal detention center, the atmosphere changed. Police say people in the crowd threw bottles, bricks, and other objects. That's when officers on horseback, you see there, well, they moved in, swinging batons and pushing people back. LAPD shut down several freeway ramps nearby as tensions increased. While most of the gathering stayed peaceful, some confrontations did break out as the day went on. And gunfire sent people running at a No Kings protest in Salt Lake City. Someone opened fire. This happened during a march downtown. And this morning, we're learning one person is in critical condition. Police took 3 people into custody, including the suspected shooter, who also had a gunshot wound. Salt Lake City's police chief says it's too early to know what sparked the violence or if the people involved knew each other. Videos posted online, you can see there, show people scrambling for cover as shots rang out. Police are investigating the entire incident. And in Portland, Oregon, what started as a protest quickly escalated near a federal building. Police there declared it a riot minutes after they ordered crowds to leave. Now, hundreds marched through downtown Portland earlier in the day, but by late afternoon, a smaller group gathered near an ICE building across the river. Police first called it an unlawful assembly. Then they declared it a riot, ordering everyone to leave or face arrest. Federal agents used tear gas, rubber bullets, and flashbangs to clear the crowd. Police later confirmed 2 arrests and said a medical emergency happened inside the ICE facility. And all these demonstrations happened at the same time as a massive military parade in our nation's capital, celebrating the Army's 250th birthday and the 79th birthday of President Trump. The parade featured more than 6,500 members of the military. Thousands of spectators came to the celebration, including Army veteran Chad Sangster and his family. They were from upstate New York. He served in Iraq after 9/11.
Just thinking about their memories, my memories.
I was thinking about both of my grandfathers and my father and my son and my husband.
As an Army family, what does that mean to you?
A sacrifice.
Well, Army officials estimate the cost of the parade could end up being between $25 and $45 million. Well, closer to home in the North Bay, the Marin GOP gathered to celebrate the anniversary and the birthday. They hosted a pancake breakfast yesterday at Civic Center Lagoon Park in San Rafael. Members say that their group's focus is on finding solutions for unity. and on reclaiming some power in a state with a Democratic supermajority in the legislature.
I'm a believer that it takes two wings to fly a straight course. You need a right wing and you need a left wing. And right now we just have a left wing and we're going in circles on a lot of issues.
Marin's Republican Party says that they will continue to show their support for President Trump throughout the protests. Well, coming up, the Stern Grove Music Festival returns for another season starting this afternoon. Details on that and other events happening around the Bay Area. Let's take a look at what's happening around the Bay on this Father's Day, and happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Well, the Stern Grove Music Festival starts its 88th season today in San Francisco. It opens at 2 this afternoon with the California Honey Drops headlining. Now, the Sunday concerts run through August 17th at Sigmund Stern Grove near 19th Avenue at Slope Boulevard. Excuse me. Also in San Francisco, Sunday Streets rolls into the Tenderloin, turning Golden Gate Avenue between Jones and Hyde into a car-free hub of culture, community, and fun. Festivities run through 4 p.m. today. And over in the East Bay, Berkeley's 38th annual Juneteenth Festival kicks off at 11 a.m. at Alcatraz Avenue and Adeline Street. It's being promoted as a celebration of freedom, family, and culture. And congratulations to Stanford's class of 2025. The university holds its 134th commencement later this morning with Olympic swimmer Katie Ledecky giving the keynote address at Stanford Stadium. Well, congratulations to all those grads. I always love June, Zoe, because it's always like, don't forget the dads and grads. It's like, okay, you know the grads are happening, and then it's about the dads and hopefully a really nice forecast.
Yeah, I peeked in a little bit too early because I was just so excited to get my forecast there. I was like, I kind of want to come in because it's going to be a beautiful day for any outdoor activities that you have planned. A little bit chilly closer to the coast, but it is what we expect this time of year. It's why we live here in the Bay Area, right? So enjoy the cooler conditions along the coast, but if you want to enjoy some more sunshine and some more heat, head on inland where we're expecting the upper 80s to return to our forecast today. And it's actually only going to get warmer and warmer from here as we step out into early to mid next week. We're expecting our temperatures, especially across central and southern California, to really begin to rise. This will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday afternoon. Wednesday will be the peak of it, where you see these deep, dark white colors filling in. This is some excessive heat, but if we take a look closer to us here in the Bay Area, it is just going to be our inland East Bay communities that are seeing a bit more of those deeper and those darker colors filling in. Again, Tuesday and Wednesday are the warmer days. Today, though, it's very similar to what we woke up to yesterday. A little bit of cloud coverage closer to our coastal communities, but again, it is very mild. It is very seasonable, and these clouds are going to continue to peel back, and we'll actually be dealing with a good amount of sunshine for most of the Bay. There might be a little bit of that cloud coverage sticking around for places like Pacifica and maybe the westernmost parts of San Francisco, but it is honestly going to be a really lovely day out there with a good amount of more sunshine compared to what we felt last week. Temperatures this afternoon are going to continue to warm up above what they did yesterday. We'll be in the upper 70s to low 80s in our inland, or for our Santa Clara Valley communities, but our inland East Bay communities are going to be in the upper 80s to maybe even near 90 degrees. So definitely a couple of degrees warmer today compared to yesterday because our winds are going to be a lot calmer farther inland, while our coastal communities, upper 50s to maybe even near 60 degrees down near Half Moon Bay. Here in San Francisco, we'll also be seeing our temperatures mid 60s to upper 60s, kind of just depending whether you're downtown or whether you're closer to the coast. But either way, it's those microclimates that continue to be in full force. Tomorrow afternoon, they might actually be a degree or two cooler than today. We'll be back in the mid to lower 80s inland and back into the upper 50s all along our coastal communities with a little bit less sunshine, a little bit stronger winds, as there's a very weak storm system that's going to be passing tomorrow. But like I said, a heat up is on the way. So that storm system is honestly really not going to be impacting us all too much, just a degree or two cooler than today. This morning, though, I want to show you all a beautiful time lapse of the cloud coverage, that fog making its way just below Sutro Tower. Sutro Tower has had its head just above the clouds, but it looks like that fog and that cloud layer is beginning to lift, and we're going to be beginning to lose the visibility from the camera on top of Sutro Tower. But that just means that sunny skies are going to be returning to those areas underneath the clouds, as our wind gusts today and tomorrow will stay under 30 miles an hour. So any outdoor plans, like maybe heading out to the Alameda County Fair, it's going to be a beautiful day for it. We'll be in the low 80s this afternoon. That is some comfortable heat. If you have any outdoor plans, maybe you want to spend your Father's Day outdoors, it is going to be nice, but again, it's going to be chillier if you live closer to our coastal communities like here in San Francisco. So just make sure you dress appropriately for whatever outdoor activities you have planned, but I would still suggest spending the day outdoors. It's going to be really nice before that heat up heads our way Tuesday and Wednesday. Not dangerous heat, nothing unbearable, but at least a pattern change is on the way. Back to you.
Well, coming up, a manhunt continues for a suspect who authorities say shot 2 state lawmakers and their spouses in Minnesota. A House member and her husband are now dead. And this morning, we are learning 10 people have been killed in Israel as missile and drone strikes continue between Israel and Iran. And welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Gianna Franco. Yes, it is a Sunday morning. It's also Father's Day. So happy Father's Days to all the dads out there. And
yes.
Zoe's here this morning. You're always here. It's the weekend.
I was going to say, you're here this morning,
if
anything.
Monday, I promise.
No, it's not Monday. We promised you. Max is just off because he was too busy winning an Emmy last night.
Congratulations.
Yes,
to Max.
congratulations to him. And a lot of the KPIX family won it for the election night coverage. Yeah, so congratulations to all of them. And they're going to look at a beautiful day to celebrate, hopefully waking up with not too bad of a headache early this morning, and hopefully can enjoy a lot of sunshine into this afternoon because there is going to be plenty of it all across the Bay Area. There's a little bit of fog waking up early this morning, especially closer to our coastal communities, but overall, it's really not creating any visibility issues, and it really shouldn't for any places other than maybe Pacifica and down near our coastal communities. But either way, it is mild to kick off our morning, very similar to what we woke up to yesterday morning in the low 50s to upper 40s across our North Bay, where it is just a little bit cooler by the afternoon hours, though we are going to continue to see the cloud coverage continuing to peel back, and there should be a lot of sunshine for basically all of the Bay Area, besides similar to yesterday, maybe near Pacifica, but also similar to yesterday. If you live in Pacifica, there is still going to be a few more peaks of sunshine. It's not going to be a completely cloudy, fogged in day. And that means your temperatures might actually get to closer to 60 instead of the mid to upper 50s along our coastal communities. And our inland areas are going to be warming up a couple of degrees above yesterday. They'll be in the upper 80s to maybe even near 90 degrees for places like Antioch. So a warm up is on the way today, but an even bigger warm up will arrive next week. And I'll let you know when you can expect it coming up in just a bit. Back to you.
Well, a manhunt continues for the man suspected of shooting 2 Minnesota state lawmakers early yesterday. The lawmakers were targeted in their homes and one was killed along with her husband. Bradley Blackburn has the latest on what authorities believe was a politically motivated attack.
The FBI and Minnesota authorities are searching for this man, 57-year-old Vance Luther Bolter. They say this security camera image was captured just a few hours after he allegedly shot 2 state lawmakers.
Do not approach him. You should consider him armed and dangerous.
Investigators say during the shootings he wore a mask and posed as a police officer, going to the homes of Minnesota House Leader Melissa Hortman and State Senator John Hoffman, both Democrats. Hortman and her husband were killed with multiple gunshot wounds, and Hoffman and his wife were seriously injured.
My good friend and colleague, Speaker Melissa Hortman, and her husband Mark were shot and killed early this morning in what appears to be a politically motivated assassination.
Bolter is known to Minnesota politics. He was appointed twice to the governor's Workforce Development Commission, most recently by Governor Walz. At the White House, President Trump condemned the shootings.
Absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible, and they're looking for that particular man right now.
Early Saturday, police officers encountered the suspect outside the Hortman home when they say he opened fire and got away on foot. Investigators towed a vehicle they believe he used disguised with police lights and markings. They say inside they found no King's flyers and a list of 50 potential targets, including abortion rights advocates, abortion facilities, and other officials outside Minnesota.
Now to the escalating conflict between Israel and Iran. The two countries are trading strikes for a third straight day. And this morning, Israel issued a new warning. Israel struck military and nuclear sites across Iran again. The Israeli military warned civilians to evacuate arms factories, hinting at more strikes ahead. Iran fired back, hitting cities in Israel where children were among the killed. Nuclear talks between Iran and the U.S. are off. World leaders are urging de-escalation, but neither side seems ready to back down. Well, in one of the deadliest strikes inside Israel, Iranian missiles slammed into Bat Yam, just south of Tel Aviv. A residential building took a direct hit and 6 people died. Medics responded to the scene and sifted through the rubble to search for survivors. And farther north in the city of Tamra, another strike killed 4 people, injuring 24 others. Now, these attacks brought Israel's total death toll to 13, with several still missing and more than 180 reported wounded. And in Iran, a massive fire broke out at an oil refinery near Tehran after an apparent Israeli strike. Flames and heavy smoke poured into the sky as daylight began in the capital. Iranian state media say the blaze is now under control. Iran's UN ambassador says his country's death toll is at 78, with more than 320 wounded. Well, here in the U.S., as we mentioned earlier, President Trump took part in a large military parade on Saturday commemorating the Army's 250th birthday. The event coincided with the president's 79th birthday and drew both celebration and criticism. Natalie Brand reports from along the parade route in Washington, D.C.
A massive parade of U.S. military might rolled down Constitution Avenue, marking the Army's 250th birthday. The president and first lady looked on from a viewing box near the White House with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Vice President J.D. Vance, and dozens of other dignitaries. In remarks, President Trump talked about U.S. military strength.
Thanks to their extraordinary service and devotion, 250 years later, America stands tall, America stands proud, and America stands free. We're the hottest country in the world right now.
Saturday's parade featured around 6,500 members of the military, showcasing the U.S. Army's uniforms and equipment through the decades. The last time Washington, D.C. held a military parade like this was 1991 to mark the end of the Gulf War. Army veteran Chad Sangster traveled with his family from upstate New York to be here. He served in Iraq after 9/11.
What are you thinking about today?
Just thinking about their memories, my memories.
I was thinking about both of my grandfathers and my father and my son and my husband.
As an Army family, what does that mean to you?
A sacrifice.
This is what democracy looks like. In cities across the country Saturday, critics of President Trump organized what they called No Kings rallies.
We love America, and we want to make sure that we can fight against the authoritarianism that's happening as we speak.
Demonstration organizers said millions came out to march in hundreds of events.
Well, coming up, San Jose leaders are moving forward with a new policy that is already taking criticism.
You know, we didn't get out here alone, and, you know, we're not going to make it out here alone.
Why critics say there's no easy answer, and the new measure could criminalize homeless people. Let's head to the South Bay right now, where the San Jose City Council paved the way this past week for a new policy for tackling homelessness. The so-called responsibility to shelter ordinance, now approved, gives police the ability to cite and arrest homeless people if they refuse several offers of shelter. Supporters argue it would give them tools to meaningfully address the issue, but critics say the policy will criminalize homelessness. Our Katie Nilsson breaks it all down.
But over here in Columbus Park, yeah, I'm the longest standing resident.
This is Eugene Blackwell, a 5-year resident of what is now the city's largest encampment. And he says he's taken the city up on temporary shelter in the past, but was right back on the streets after he was unable to get permanent housing.
You know, it's a hard transition. You get used to being indoors, you get used to being in this hotel room, then, you know, all at once, you know, you have to come back into the streets.
Home for him is this box truck, and if he were to go into a temporary shelter again, he's worried the city might tow it away.
You know, you already gave up everything and like lost everything out here, so when you're coming back out here, there's like pretty much nothing to come back to.
But the responsibility to shelter ordinance would require unhoused residents to accept the offer of shelter if the city provides it. Otherwise, for the first 2 refusals, the unhoused person could be cited, and if they refuse 3 times in 18 months, they could be arrested.
Our expectation is that there will be intervention, including law enforcement intervention, if you repeatedly refuse an appropriate shelter placement.
San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan says outreach workers would have discretion over whether to refer cases to police. He says the idea is not to criminalize being homeless, but instead use the tools at the city's disposal to get people the help they need. The ordinance has been endorsed by both the San Jose Police and Firefighters Union, as well as the Japantown Business Association.
The city is out of tools. We're asking our community to spend hundreds of millions of dollars building interim housing, converting motels, modular units. At some point, we have to acknowledge that a small subset of folks on our streets simply are unable or unwilling to accept and benefit from what the city can do.
But for those like Eugene, the answer isn't that simple.
We didn't get out here alone, and we're not going to make it out here alone. And the mayor can't fix this problem alone, and neither can the citizens. Like, we all have to work together.
Well, the newly approved ordinance goes into effect on July 1st, but city staff told us it could take anywhere from 60 to 90 days to ramp up before any enforcement actions would begin. Well, coming up, the new calls to overhaul police chase policies after a CHP pursuit ended with the death of an Oakland teacher. Well, the death of a high school teacher in Oakland is placing new scrutiny on the city's police chase policies. Video released during this past week shows the pursuit. It was actually the CHP and not Oakland police that was chasing a teenage driver who then crashed, killing the teacher. And while Oakland police officers are under strict regulations during pursuits, those rules don't apply to CHP. Kevin Coe listened to the calls to change that.
Felipe Kelly says he doesn't feel safe walking around Oakland.
Why should I feel safe walking down any one of these streets when I know CHP is very reckless in their approach and how they drive through residential neighborhoods, right? And how they come through our communities.
All right, CHP has a visual of him. Kelly's reacting to this pursuit on May 28th that ended with the tragic death of 40-year-old Dr. Marvin Boomer, a beloved Castlemont High School teacher. New video released by CHP's aerial unit shows the moments leading up to that deadly collision. It started when a license plate reader alerted officers to a black Infiniti tied to a felony evading case out of Alameda County. Two officers tried to stop the driver, 18-year-old Eric Scott Hernandez Garcia, who sped away. According to CHP, it pursued Hernandez Garcia until his vehicle reached dangerously high speeds of nearly 100 miles per hour.
Approaching Fruitvale, all lanes at 90.
Officers say they stopped the pursuit for 13 minutes until the 18-year-old pulled over.
Parked on the east side of the street.
But as soon as officers arrived to try and arrest him, Hernandez Garcia sped away again. In less than a minute, he crashes into a minivan near Park Boulevard and 21st Street. CHP officers on the ground started chasing him again, but say they quickly lost track of Hernandez Garcia and called off the pursuit, leaving the aerial unit as the only eyes on the driver. About 20 seconds later, the vehicle slammed into a tree, a parked car, and a fire hydrant. The hydrant hit Dr. Boomer, who had been walking with his partner on the sidewalk.
An educator, someone committed to our babies and our community, walking with his partner, something any of us should be able to do on any given day in the streets of Oakland.
Kat Brooks, the co-founder of the Anti-Police Terror Project, joined other community activists outside CHP's Oakland office, demanding CHP follow OPD's stricter pursuit policy when they're on city streets. That prevents officers from pursuits exceeding 50 miles an hour without supervisor approval.
I'm a rational human being. If someone has just committed a horrific act of violence, right, that's a conversation we should have. I do not think we should ever chase for nonviolent incidents, ever. Fall back, do the investigation, holler at them later.
But OPD's own policy could be loosened, as Chief Floyd Mitchell is asking the Police Commission to take out the approval requirement for high speeds.
Everything that we do from a policing standpoint poses a high risk to our community, and we have to balance that.
The police department had come under pressure, even from the governor, to relax its policy that some say is allowing too many criminals to get away. But Felipe believes the tragic outcome of this chase shows that the city should consider doing away with pursuits altogether.
Like, honestly, it feels like at any moment my life can be taken by one of these officers or one of these CHP officers because of their recklessness.
Well, the Police Commission tells us later this month, commission leaders are scheduled to meet with OPD leadership, along with the federal monitor overseeing the department. Now, they'll discuss Chief Mitchell's plan. That would give the chief time to make any further adjustments before the commission votes on this issue in mid-July. Well, it is still June, and we are seeing a lot of fog out there as we start your day on some of these, mornings this week. But today, just looking at this, looks a little bit better.
A little bit better, similar to what we saw yesterday, not similar to what we saw basically all last week. But I do have to give my dad a big shout out. He texted me and said that he was watching. So happy Father's Day.
What's his name?
Mike Mintz, Dr. Michael Mintz. Yeah, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for him. So thank you, Dad. Happy Father's Day. And I'm sure all the fathers out there hopefully feel the same way about their kids, because we wouldn't be here if it weren't for all of the amazing fathers out there. But this morning, we wouldn't be here without the sun rising above the horizon and a little bit of fog in the Bay Area. What do we expect? It's summertime, it's June, but there's not that typical June gloom in the air, not nearly as foggy as what we've been waking up to last week. And in fact, most of us are going to continue to see plenty of sunshine. The little bit of fog that is there is going to peel back to our coastal communities, and just a little bit of it sitting in places maybe like Pacifica. Very similar to what we saw yesterday. But if you live in Pacifica, you might have noticed yesterday, you definitely saw more sunshine compared to what you saw last week. And that allows your high temperatures to get a little bit closer to that 60-degree mark. Winds are going to stay below 30 miles an hour. Overall, a really, really nice day. And if you live inland, it's going to be an even warmer day today. Upper 80s returning to the forecast, to potentially even near 90 degrees in places like Antioch and Fairfield. So if you want to enjoy some heat, head on inland. If you don't mind a bit more of the cooler weather, head on to the coast. Honestly, it's going to be some beautiful beach weather for those of us that, again, are used to the chill here in the Bay Area. High temperatures tomorrow are going to be a couple of degrees cooler than today. There's going to be a bit of a stronger wind, a bit more cloud coverage. High temperatures will be in the low 80s inland versus upper 80s. Still going to be in the mid to upper 50s closer to our coastal communities. But by tomorrow, again, just a brief cool down before an even bigger heat up heads our way by Tuesday and into Wednesday. There finally is going to be a pattern change on the way, and we'll likely not be starting off with nearly as much fog or as much cloud coverage that we have been seeing, because we've started off the month of June extremely chilly. In fact, we are actually seeing the chilliest start to June that we have seen since 1999. There's only been one day this month above 65 degrees and not a single day this month above average. So yeah, we have definitely felt chilly temperatures, and that's likely going to stick around today, especially if you live closer to Stern Grove, Ocean Beach. This is the place that those winds will be impacting you a bit more. Those high temperatures only in the upper 50s. So if you're planning on heading out to Father's Day at Stern Grove, you want to be prepared. Grab a jacket. That very similar weather pattern is going to stick around today. A bit cooler into tomorrow before high pressure builds overhead Tuesday and into Wednesday. And as many of you know, high pressure brings warmer temperatures, brings sunnier skies, and that's exactly what we'll be seeing. Again, it's only a 2-day heat wave. It's not even a heat wave. It's just a warm up, honestly. It's not dangerous heat. It is just a brief break in that pattern change that we have been seeing. So get ready for it and enjoy the more comfortable and cooler conditions today. Back to you.
Time now for a look at today's headlines. Across the Bay Area, crowds turned out for No Kings protests opposing the policies of President Trump. Thousands gathered at Palo Alto's Rinconada Park, joining voices against the administration. Among the crowd was folk music icon Joan Baez. She urged protesters to hold on to hope while sticking to nonviolent methods. In the East Bay, Oakland's protests brought together demonstrators who oppose the administration's immigration policies. Community members, including local business owners, supported the march throughout the day. And over in San Francisco, thousands gathered at Dolores Park before marching to Civic Center to protest what they say is heavy-handed immigration enforcement. Participants voiced a solidarity for undocumented families amid growing fears of deportation. And in Minnesota, a manhunt is in its second day after a suspected gunman killed a state lawmaker and her husband and wounded another lawmaker and his wife. Authorities believe the attacks were politically motivated. Zoe, let's talk about the forecast.
Well, it's going to be another typical June day out there. Rinse and repeat of yesterday, maybe a little bit warmer across our inland areas, a bit cooler tomorrow, but then a bit of a heat up arrives Tuesday and into Wednesday, upper 80s to low 90s inland and mid 60s along our coastal communities. So you know what, Gianna, pulling you back in here to talk about how nice it is out there, how great a day for Father's Day, any outdoor activity should be. And it's not going to take long for this little bit of fog that we have to clear.
Okay, so the sun is going to come out for all you dads out there. So that'll be fun. And happy Father's Day to my husband. I should give him a shout out too.
Yes, once again, happy Father's Day.
All right, so get ready for some wild rides. The Red Bull Soapbox Race rolled into Salt Lake City for the very first time this weekend.
Yes, and hundreds of racers took on a challenging course in homemade carts. And the crowd appeared to love absolutely every minute of it. About 50,000 fans packed to Main Street, where 48 teams raced their creative motorless vehicles. The winning team, the Desert Rats, wowed the judges with their American Tail-themed cart and skit.
Yeah, this was Utah's debut hosting the Red Bull Soapbox Race and is one of 3 U.S. stops this year that spectators will get to enjoy. Of course, this mix of speed and creativity and some good old-fashioned fun, Zoe. Okay, I love the creativity.
That was so much. I love the Cat in the Hat one. I don't know if you saw that, the Cat in the Hat.
Oh,
dude.
I loved it.
That was amazing. It kind of reminds me of the Big Wheels race that goes down in San Francisco.
So much fun, but be careful if you try it.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us. CBS Sunday Morning with Jane Pauley is next. Here on KPIX, your local news continues and streaming on CBS News Bay Area.